Welcome to Leadership, the secret sauce, where extraordinary coaches and leaders reveal what makes them exceptional. We're your hosts, Dave Lipski and Matt Dodson. Together, let's discover our guest's secret sauce. Today's episode is brought to you by Character Matters Coaching and Consulting. At Character Matters, we believe great leadership isn't just about results. It's about who you become along the way. From career transitions to team building, we help leaders unlock clarity, build resilience, and lead authentically. Because when character grows, impact follows. Visit charactermatterscoaching.com. Today's episode is supported completely unofficially by a community we deeply believe in, the International Coaching Federation's Coaching in Organizations. If you're building or leading an internal coaching program, this is where your people find their people. It's a space to swap real stories, sharpen your craft, and stay connected to what's emerging in our field. If you haven't joined yet, take a moment to sign up and plug into the conversations shaping the future of organizational coaching. Your community is waiting, and they're ready to learn with you. Go to coachingfederation.org/coaching-in-organizations-inquiry to get started. All right. Well, in today's episode, we're sitting down with our guest, Rossella Pin, to uncover her secret sauce of leadership, mentoring, coaching. I know you don't want to miss what she has to share because at least in our discussions and even on some of her posts on LinkedIn, she presents a very unique sort of approach in terms of what coaches really offer and what they may be missing. So I hope you stick around for some of her insights because I know you won't want to miss it. Dave, let's introduce our guest.
Welcome, Rossella. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high, what is your energy?
Oh, I'm always 12, at least.
Wow.
That's what people say.
I love it. What do you say? Why are you at 12?
Yeah, well, it is. I normally wake up, a lot of energy, and that's probably something I was born with, and I keep it with me.
I love it. And when you're on a plane from Italy to Paris and somebody next to you says, hi, what do you do? How do you introduce yourself?
Well, it's funny because sometimes it's so hard for them to understand if I say I'm a coach and what happens when I started introducing myself, I'm a coach, people were saying, especially like, are you a football coach? No, thank you. And then so what I use the same definition that I use with my mom when she has to describe what I do. And I say, Mom, just say I'm a trainer. Okay. And it's easier for her. Then when they start saying, well, who do you train? Then definitely I say, oh, maybe I can say something more. So then I say I'm coaching and also I train mentors in organizations. Yeah.
It reminds me of a quote from the Pink Panther. Yuri the trainer who trains is a quote from Steve Martin there, really.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Rossella, maybe you could give our audience a little bit of a picture really around the type of work that you do and really how did you come to do that? Like, how did you become mentor, coach? How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot. It's three, so I will make it short. But definitely, after university, I went to Luxembourg, and I was lucky enough to be enrolled in a company that was based on mentoring, coaching, and they train all their leaders in coaching, and so I was lucky to start my professional career like that. So coaching for me was a way of being a leader and support the people I was working with. Then again, mentoring too was something that was highly suggested. So there was a lot of turnover due to the fact that there were many job openings. So people were leaving the company very quickly because they were finding something better, simply because of they were getting more money, and mainly or so. So obviously, I started creating mentoring program internally in order to support people that were joining, and inviting people that were instead senior to, or even that were not so much senior, to pass their expertise and knowledge to the junior ones. So that's what I say. Mentoring coaching has been there for a long time, but it is only when I then came back to Italy and I started working in Italian companies, and then I realized that there was so much that people didn't know about it. So what was my word was not the word in most of the companies. And one day I decided that, staying just in one company was too small for me. And I had much more that I could give. And it was working so well, even in different sectors. And so I completed my coaching training, and especially then after coaching was already ICF Italy at that stage was growing. And I also completed my training as a professional mentors, and I co-founded EMCC Italy. And so then I start promoting, really advocating for mentoring coaching in organizations. And that's where, 10 years, everything started really to work beautifully for me.
Rossella, can you tell our audience, like, how would they understand the difference between, like, sometimes when we're defining coaching, we're describing the difference between mentor, coach, trainer, any of those, consultant. How do you describe it when someone asks you, like, is it a mentor coach for coaches, or what happens inside the business where people are like, yeah, that's what I need? And the reason why I ask it is because oftentimes early on in someone's new sort of journey as a coach, they're like, okay, I just have to be a coach. And yet sometimes the conversation calls for something that is a little bit more of a blend. There's a lot more overlap. And I think sometimes they get concerned. They're like, oh no, what am I doing? Or what am I saying? Or what am I asking? Could you explain that to how you see that?
Yeah, that's typical questions that many coaches bring into supervision, for example. I feel that I overstep. I went into something else than coaching, and it is okay. It's happening. I'm happy, like the ICF now has clarified, for example, the fact that there is a possibility of sharing knowledge, which doesn't mean sharing your story or sharing your experience. So knowledge is something, a tool, a theory, a book, something that you gather during your life and you want to share because might be of interest for the other person. I do a lot of leadership coaching, and sometimes when I have a new leader and don't have any idea about different theories about leadership, so then obviously we focus the session in understanding what they know about leadership, and I stay really in the pure coaching mode because the last thing I want is to influence or shortcut. So then I might say, have you heard about that? And would it be interesting to know something more about this? Really? And then I share some information after, and they're free to have a look at it and come back and maybe say, oh, that's what is interesting. Oh, what's interesting for you? Then we can explore. But it's all related to to keeping anyway the exploration and raise the awareness about the person, about also what they know and what they don't know, they might be in need of looking for. Mentoring is different because mentoring is sharing yourself, your story, your experience, how you lived it. So many coaches think that by sharing what they know is mentoring. It is not. And mentoring, and here I look at the definition of EMCC Global. It is a two-way partnership where both of the parties grow. So when you enter in a mentoring relationship, you need to establish for yourself some learning goals, and the mentee help you grow too. And so it's a two-way partnership. It's a learning partnership, and the conversation is up and off. And it's a sort of a dance, which is quite different from what we do in coaching. But you enter with yourself. So it means also managing yourself, understanding what to share, when to share, and especially you just share what you really lived and experienced. So I might heard about something, and this is not what I share in mentoring. I share a tool or a technique that really helped me growing, and I exactly say when. I can share ideas. We don't do that in coaching, which means involving myself, putting myself in the situation, say, what would I do if I was my mentee at a age, not what I know now? So it's a completely different relationship. So that's what I say. I think you didn't do mentoring. That's what I normally come up in supervision. Well, nothing to worry. You just share a resource. You just share knowledge. You didn't do mentoring. If you want to do mentoring, then you need maybe to have a separate contract with your mentee and decide if this is really what you want, because it involves you deeply, and that's a lot of work to be done on yourself. Mm-hmm.
In your I'm picturing like a coaching session that you're doing, and I'm calling it coaching, and I'm thinking you might call it something else, and a helping session with a client. What would I see in terms of your mix of sharing knowledge, sharing, focusing on coaching, sharing your experience? What would that look like for your typical assignment?
Well, in coaching, I'm really fond of pure coaching, so I stay there and I stare with a client, and whenever they ask me, "Oh, what would you do?" or "What do you know?" I always investigate and say, what is that you feel you need, you're missing? What do you think I have that you don't have? What do you think I know? And they might have read something about me, or they might have, they look at my curriculum and say, "Oh, I noticed that you have that expertise," or read something about, that you simply share on LinkedIn, and say, "Oh, well, would you be interested in knowing more?" And I say, "Yes." Okay, good. So if we want, I might share something, but I don't do it normally in the session because it's a waste of time. Otherwise, if there is some little tips, like, okay, so like a theory, "Oh, I noticed that I heard that there is the theory. Do you know it?" It's useless to say, "Oh, why do you think I just share, "Yeah, I know it." "And what do you know about it?" And I said, "Well, I know also that." But that's it. And we finish there. And now that you know that, what do you do with it? Okay, cool. But it's really small, and it's only if requested. And obviously, there is a formal permission to do that. Yeah. I might say, I hear that, for example, I hear that it looks like you haven't explored, anything about leadership. Because there's a question about everything. And I say, "What do you know about leadership?" And I ask, and then I see what is eventually missing.
Rossella, how would you define your secret sauce? Like we've heard plenty of people, especially sort of where you're based, Anna, people have described it as a spaghetti sauce or a pasta sauce or something like that. So you're probably one of our best guests to describe your own secret sauce. How would you describe it?
Well, you touched me on a very sensitive area, which is food.
Yes. Full of history. Yeah.
Full of history, definitely. Okay, so if I have to see it as something related to food, probably, when you say the bolognese, salsa bolognese, okay, in Italy there is a secret recipe of which is done very slowly. So my secret sauce is patience, definitely. I have the patience with clients, not with others. My husband will say, but anyway, with clients, definitely, I'm very patient. Okay, and I wait. I'm really hopeful that something will happen. If I wait, something will happen. And so if something in a relationship, in a coaching relationship, or even a mentoring, doesn't give immediate impact, and I know that by the end it will. The same happens in a session. But then I have this whole mixture of interest. So you think about the bolognese like meat. No, there is much more there. There is tomato, there is carrots, onions, and olive oils. So I like the quality of the things I put in, and I like to know more. That's why I explore all the different methodologies, because I think that knowing when to put one or the other in which sequence, it's important. So that is.
How did you come up with that? Like, what was your experience like? All of a sudden, you're like, it's patience, because even you admit. And so when people say patience, I don't think my wife would ever say I'm really that patient. So, like, how did you know? Like, your secret sauce is patience. How did that come about?
Mhm. Because it's definitely what people, and I also say to myself, I have not, but instead in when I am with a client, I have a lot of patience. So this is what my clients say. You have the patience to wait for me. You didn't jump in. The one client said, your silence are terrible. You stay there and wait. And I said, your silence are terrible. And that's it. But it's a different type of patience. Otherwise, obviously, I want results. I am I like, I like to get things done quickly. But then it's a mix. It's a patient mixed with hope, and then probably what people say it's energy. So it's an energetic patience. Can we say that? It's an oxymoron.
Yeah, I love that.
Patient. Okay.
Yeah. hmm Yeah.
I like it. And I'm staying with the metaphor. So when you're serving your sauce to a patient, it's a good sauce. You have good feedback. You're very confident in it, and that client's not
Mm.
responding. Doesn't like the sauce. What do you
Mm.
do?
Well, I accept that they have different tastes, which is good. And not everyone has the same say. I always say at the beginning there might be things that I do that might not have a sense for you, or you might not appreciate. So please let me know. And I also ask. I can go from being very, we can say, supportive, sweet, to be very challenging, salty. What worked best with you? And so whenever they say, I prefer you to be more challenging, I remind them, I might be challenging now, but, and then I go there.
Mm.
I like I like to
Well
quote
said.
my dear friend and mentor Marsha Reynolds when she say, we are not there to let people stay in their comfort zone. So why should they pay us?
Rossella, this is a question. Um, you wrote an article, or there's an article on LinkedIn
Yeah.
that describes that someone with coaching skills is not necessarily a good leader.
Mm.
Now, we have had a guest talk about coaching skills for leaders.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about like what inspired that article, because it is a little bit like people are like, oh, boy, I thought there was, I thought this would be an avenue to get to good leadership. I'll just say that, right? In terms of
Yeah.
like, hey, we just need leaders with better coaching skills. But you're saying, hey, well, that doesn't mean the whole thing. I'd encourage all of our listeners to go check it out on LinkedIn. Look up Rossella Pin, and look at one of her posts, because I think it's thought provoking. So tell us how that came about.
Mm. It comes from the frustration of leaders coming to me and say, I have used all those coaching skills and thought to me, but it doesn't work. It doesn't make the effect. So for me, especially, it's great to have coaching skill. Leader needs coaching skill, but leaders can be coaches only. They need to have more. So that's why, being a coach that makes you a great leader. You need more than that. And it comes also from the frustration of their listening to their people saying, oh, I go to my boss and I ask, please, can you support me on that? And he just came back from a coaching course and asked me just questions. And it made me crazy. I have this emergency. I need to know. I need the knowledge. Why should I, stay and spend so much time, finding a solution, which obviously they have already the solution. So it's understanding when to use coaching skills, when you need something else, and it's a waste of time and experience not to know how to share what you know without being directive. So when you mentor and you use mentoring skills, you share what you know in an undirected way, but you know also when it's not the moment to share. For example, obviously, if you have a team member that needs to develop the ability to think, but with a head, you use coaching skills to challenge them. But then when instead it's a moment you need to go fast, you need to let them think after. Once they have all the information and everything, you share what you know and then maybe ask the question after. Yeah, so you need to both have coaching skills, mentoring skills, and then you are a great leader.
Yeah, I like as you take that mix of things you're describing, and I'm focusing back on coaches, and you could include mentors. But what do you think that coaches and mentors need to stop doing, start doing to stay relevant in this changing as the world changes?
Well, the world is changing, so we need to, obviously have solid roots. And I'm Italian, and we know that, we keep what is historical because it's worth keeping it, and then we build what needs to be new, and we keep you. So it's again to keep the foundation that is solid, so competencies and everything. But then what we propose, learn what is really needed from the market. And I see an evolution definitely happening. So especially in companies that are mature now, thanks to the work that all coaches have done, they're more mature. Then maybe there is a need now for proposing something more and differently. That's why now I am also focusing on helping leaders also acquiring mentoring skills, and especially now that the world is changing and so rapidly, and unfortunately companies need to leave people go. Definitely there is this incredible need of keeping in the company what is really worth it, not losing it. So there is time when coaching is great. There's time when we need something else, mentoring. And so for me, it's being flexible in understanding what is the need in the moment. And with AI, it becomes even more relevant because many managers are really fearing of becoming obsolete and being replaced. But wisdom, which is the knowledge they acquire with the experience, the life experience, that if they learn how to share their wisdom, then they stay relevant. So I see this like a mission to support people and stay relevant in this age of AI, which seems that you can get anything quickly. Knowledge, not wisdom.
Yeah, it reminds me there's a big discernment gap between when you get the skills or when you maybe learn coaching skills and then how to apply them.
Yeah.
And I think as on the receiving end of the coaching skills from a supervisor, you're like, oh, I got to walk through this development period with my supervisor. They're just going to ask me a bunch of questions and I just want to scream, just tell me what you want. Mm-hmm. And I think most supervisors or most frontline supervisors are going to have to go through that at some point in time. Especially if they have discovered the power of coaching skills or powerful questions, and all of a sudden they're like, everything's a powerful question. And I have also had future leaders come up to me and say, okay, my supervisor they got this idea around coaching skills. So they came back to me and everything was a coaching question. And I'm like, no, just tell me what they want. So yeah, that's
There is much
um,
more that we can offer, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe you could share with our audience what's a bold idea about either coaching or mentoring that maybe not everybody agrees with. We already talked about sort of this that mentoring or coaching skills is not necessarily good leadership. You have any other, like, give us a global picture? You work with a lot of clients that are all over the world. What have you discovered about coaching or mentoring from your vantage point?
Mm. Well, I work a lot with internal coaches,
Hmm.
and so to support them in living that role, which is quite challenging. And so what I developed was, well, it was co-created actually with the person who was responsible of an internal coaching academy. And we were working on like team coaching skills. And I said, using my mentoring expertise, I said, why don't we combine, an external coach with an internal coach in team coaching um, interventions, and especially the external, a senior one, an internal, and a junior one. So actually, the senior can also mentor the junior. The junior can observe the senior one while they are in action. So it's not training; it's really modeling what is needed. And also, the both are better placed in facing any dilemma, because obviously as external coach we might have our own dilemmas, and internal coach have other dilemmas, but if we are together then we can support each other and there are no dilemmas. And so by doing that experiment, and I think nobody was doing it, and I think there are no cases all around, so maybe it's something new for everyone. It has worked so well, and it was impressive. It was a learning experience for me too, because obviously I pairing with someone junior, and I was very mindful of everything I was doing, learning how to use my strength first, but then letting the other grow in their own strengths. So an amazing experience, and I think this was something really bold idea, and came from like a co-creation, and I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, there is something powerful in like a mentoring context inside of a group.
Mm.
And I'm always impressed how team members, like if it's peers, how they walk away and go, wow, that was really powerful. And I just sat there a lot of times. Okay, really glad you really got something out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah. But there is something powerful to it.
it
Yeah.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are many things that I have, coaching has helped me when I'm mentoring or training mentors become much more powerful. And the same goes when, something that I learn through mentoring that I've introduced in the process, like this one of pairing with one mentor the other, and other things that I've introduced that are combining peer mentoring between team members while you do team coaching activities, that have really been extremely impactful.
Mm.
So that's why I say always keeping it open, not mixing, but keep on adding. So that's my, I'm one of my mantra is the and. So it's not one or the other, it's and, but without
Mm.
mixing, adding something. So you propose two services, not one that is blurred and you don't know what it is.
Mm. Rossella, if you had to ask or identify what an ideal coach would be for you today,
Mm.
what qualities would they absolutely have to have?
Well, always look for challenging coaches. I need to be really challenged, because as coaches, we actually can coach a little bit ourselves on the basics, but we can be very accommodating coaching coaches. So when I look for a coach, I always look for someone who challenged me, So I think the ideal coach is the one who is able to care, welcome, care, but also is ready to take the risk to challenge. And in my case, for example, with, CEOs, C-suite executives, as an external, it might not be so easy to challenge, because if they don't like it, they immediately, all your business go away. But I found that it's worth the risk, and they finally appreciate. There might be some people that don't appreciate, which is okay, but what can we do with it? But those who appreciate, then they will talk about you. And so I would say here and there. And that's what I always invite, even coaches when I'm in mentor coaching session, to say, what is the here you would have loved to do and you didn't dare to do with your client?
Maybe you can also give our listeners, what are some of the resources or books or things that you listen to as a coach that develop you personally, or that just kind of keep you sort of developing? What do you like?
Well, I read a lot about coaching and mentoring, but not in the traditional way, probably. So in my case, I'm working on a project. I think, oh, I think I missed that. So I start buying all the books that are there, and I receive them and start reading, but not the entire book, just what I need. So in my case, I was reading things that I need. And so I always say, when I will retire, probably I will read the full books, But that's the way I read. So I like those books that are also like they are not manual. So when I had to decide how to write my book, for example, I said, should I write another manual? I said, I don't like manuals. So because what I do when there are manuals, that I read like a chapter, that's it. So I thought, but what I like to read are books like, I don't know, the 1 Minute to Manager, who are quick, and then you go to the story, you get what you want, and you read it all the time and say, oh, that's something new. So I like those books. And that's why when I decided how to write my books, I decided to write a novel to explain, how, to coaches what mentoring really is, so they could understand, and to mentors how to be great mentors. So that's what I like. Those type of books, I read them fully. The others, bites, just what I need. Checklists, I would say. Yeah.
Nice. Rossella, what's the best way for our audience someone who's very intrigued, outside the US, inside the US, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you to even read some of the things that you write?
Okay. If they want to meet me, they may come to the conferences, because I'm always there for ICF conferences. So you can meet me in Paris for the ICF Converge. For me, I'm on LinkedIn, so and I really set a goal for myself to share more. That's what my also student asked me. Could you share more? Could you write more? So I'm honoring their request. So this year I'm sharing much more on LinkedIn, so that you can reach me there. Yeah.
That's great. Maybe you can share a little bit. So what's the title of your talk at ICF Converge in Paris? What are you going to be talking about?
Okay. The title is Radical Wisdom. So, which is obviously, I believe we are all wise, but being radical is to know when and how to share, our wisdom, and have the courage probably to share it. And then it is how knowledge flows into coaching, mentoring, and supervision. So it's to let people see the distinctions. So and also I'm giving more information, following the new competencies, in particular competency 7 that is introduced. And I noticed there is, for some people say, oh, finally we have the authorization to share whatever we want. And, it's not like that. So, bringing a little bit of clarity can also help honoring the profession and all the work that they've been been doing in these years.
So, Rossella, you're going to be at the Converge in Paris. Will you be at the one in DC in October as well?
Oh, no, that one I can't. Oh, yeah, I know.
Okay.
That one I can't. Yeah, for present reasons.
All right. So if you want to see Rossella in person, you'll have to go to the Paris one. I recommend it. If there's space. Otherwise, what is your? Well, I also want to just compliment you on your website. It is very, very attractive in terms of like a website that really kind of describes what's the website and how long has it been up. You and a couple of other people also are part of that group. How can
Well, no, I would just the new part that I've designed. So is the International Mentoring Academy that I designed especially for mentors and coaches who wants to learn more how to either become professional mentors or to train mentors in organization. And that one is the one probably that will be more interesting for coaches to see.
Yeah. So we'll also put, if you want to check out Rossella's website, that'll be in the show notes. We know you won't want to miss out for a very savvy design on a website describing what she's offering there. So, Dave, your reflection on what Rossella had to share?
Rossella, I so appreciate your energetic patience. And I feel like as I'm listening to you, I feel like you're exploring, like, what is it time for now? Like, how do you broker? How do you partner people? How do you connect people just to help whoever you are helping move forward, regardless of what it is that you're thinking of, like experienced, external, internal, right? An opportunity for everybody to grow. So I really appreciate that focus.
Well, thank you so much, David. Thank you for welcoming you in your space.
It's our pleasure. One of the things I would just say, my reflection is this really, it's interesting that you call it radical wisdom. Because I really think that there is a great amount of wisdom that's required in coaching, in just what to say, when to say it, what not to say. I think that pairs really well with your secret sauce of the patience. I imagine if I were a leader on the receiving end of that coaching, those silences would probably seem like forever, would really get me sort of on the inside, just really thinking and really sort of expand my thinking, which I think I really want that in a coach, for them to be silent long enough for me to think through what I'm really saying and what I really need to talk about.
Let what is in emerging, isn't
Thank you.
it?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Rossella. We really appreciate you being here with us.
Mike.
And for all of our listeners, we encourage you to subscribe, like, and get in touch with Rossella. And if you are really curious, she sparked an interest in what you have to say, I encourage you to check out her LinkedIn page.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Big thanks to our sponsor, Character Matters Coaching and Consulting. If you're ready to unlock your leadership potential and make the impact you're meant to make, visit charactermatterscoaching.com and connect with Matt about transforming your team or organization. If this conversation sparks something for you, share it with a fellow leader who needs to hear it. And don't forget, all of today's resources are waiting for you in the show notes. Until next time, keep discovering your secret sauce.